Welcome, everybody, to Broadcast Team Alpha, where we bring you cutting edge conversation while we explore the quantum possibilities. And guess what? We're doing it again tonight. And we're doing it in a little bit of a different energy. And I'm so excited about that. But before we get started, I want to thank you. I see you in the chat room getting warmed up already. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for the super chats. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. We are going for 10,000 subscriptions, 10,000 followers. So please, subscribe your dog, anybody that has a YouTube account. We'd love to have them. And I'd like to invite you to the membership group. The membership group is membership has privileges. Remember that commercial? It's exclusive content for the people that join. It's really a minimal fee. And we test drive some of our new material that we don't feel quite ready to put out to the general population yet, some private things to see how that feels for us, because we get vulnerable. And we do have monthly gatherings that you're welcome to join us, and we talk about anything that you want to talk about. We also have incredible guests: Jenny G, one of our great psychics; Kim Lalo, psychic feng shui specialist; naturopathic doctors. We have all kinds of great people that come. So Mac is going to put it in the chat room how to join us, and I want to invite you to one more incredible thing that we're doing. There are so many global meditations that are happening, and Augie and I have been holding the Mastermind Connection on Sunday afternoon for like 3 years now, and that's like a global meditation, except it's more intentional, geared toward manifestation. And we want to manifest all benevolent things, dangerous weather patterns. We use our energy to change that so it becomes a non-event for wherever it was headed. During the vaccine crisis, we were wanting health and well-being for people. We wanted peace during the elections. And then we have a lot of personal healing that actually goes on, because all of us come together for the well-being of that person, and we visualize them well. We visualize them beyond the illness, right? Doing what they do in their daily life, or doing even more than they do. And people are getting better. It is so amazing. Not only that, every time I am with this group of incredible people, I'm blown away by the quality and the depth and the breadth of these people. They're expansive thinkers. We are expansive thinkers. And it's just, we are right on time doing what we're supposed to be doing during this time. So I invite you to join us. Send an email to mastermindconnection@gmail.com. Augie will send you the link. Come join us on a Sunday. See if you like it. And if you like it, we do meet on Monday and Wednesday for kind of more casual meetings. And Augie, please tell us about our very welcomed guest.
Yes, I will. This is going to be fun. We have a gentleman from England with us. It's 1 a.m. over there, so we sure thank him for being up this late. We have Michael Tingle with us, and he is a teacher of Tai Chi and Qigong. And for those of you that want to surf the internet at the same time you are listening, I'll give you his website here. It is michaeltingle.com. And just go there, and you'll find some good stuff, and courses and classes and things that you can participate and look at. Anyway, his teachings come down from Chen Man-Ch'ing, and I don't speak Chinese, so I'm sure I butchered that one, but let's go with it. He was actually probably the one most responsible for bringing Tai Chi to the West. And after 20-some years of practice and teaching, Michael is now with us for 1 whole hour talking about the benefits our life can have of some of these practices that everybody can do because it's so simple. And I'm all ears, Michael. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Michael.
Hello there, guys.
Hey,
Nice to be here.
so good to have you. So good to have you. Thank you. It's so late over there. Thank you for staying up. And
Uh,
I've been thinking about all that you do, and I'm just wondering, what was the pathway in your life that led you to where you are now and all that you do?
wow, it's quite a big question, but I'll sort of try and summarize it a little bit here. Basically, a friend of mine was sort of got into Taoism, and then from Taoism's sort of the fundamental bit, sort of core teaching of Taoism is from the Tao Te Ching, and it's a lot of very interesting poetry that's quite it doesn't seem it's very sort of paradoxical. And then a little bit later on, he started learning Tai Chi, and the whole thing was really interesting. And I was like completely confused by it, but at the same time, I was really magnetized because there seemed to be something else about it, but it didn't really make sense. And I was intrigued, and I was like, it's really this is typical for a lot of Tai Chi people. It's usually somebody else gets into it, and then they're like, well, what's all this about? And then there was a local sort of class in my nearby town, and I thought, okay, you've got to actually go and do something sometimes in order to check it out. I mean, you can't just read about stuff all the time. You actually go and experience it. So I went along to the class and started to learn this Tai Chi, and it's actually an incredibly slow process. You have to have quite a lot of stamina in the sense of like, just sort of, coming back week after week after week. It can take up to 40 weeks to learn the basic form. And believe it or not, that's actually quite the abridged version as well. In China, it's actually a lot longer. But I sort of went, sort of weathered that whole experience, and I stuck through, and I learned the Tai Chi form. And then I started to get into it. And of course, when you're learning new things like Tai Chi, you suddenly start to meet other people who are very much into it as well, and then you start to share all of these Tai Chi's type stories, and you start to become quite excited, and other people's energy and stories and their teachings, that you just sort of exchange all of this information, and you show each other stuff. And so, basically, that's how I kind of got into it. And that was that was in 1994, 95. So what's that? So over 25 years ago. And it kind of just slowly grew like a tiny little seed that just developed a little bit. And that really is part of the Qigong Tai Chi world, is this sense of slow, steady growth. But it's that steadiness that makes it unstoppable. It's like, that's why it's so powerful. It's not a boom and bust kind of thing. It's not going to the gym and then hurting yourself and then having to take 6 weeks off because you've got an injury. It's really is. It doesn't appeal particularly to the ego, because the ego tends to want something really solid and flashy and really sensational. And of course, we need those moments. However, what is it that's going to get you through those times when you feel like no energy and it doesn't make sense and you want to give up, and it's life is tough and you just want to let go of it. So you've got to be able to get through those moments as well. So one of the I just carry on with this a little bit, but one of the reasons I got into Tai Chi, especially because I was exploring lots of different paths, but one of the things that I loved about Tai Chi was that Chen Man-Ch'ing, who you mentioned earlier, in the book, he's got like a few books out there, but one of the things he mentions, he says, if you want to be a Tai Chi practitioner, all you need to do is practice 10 minutes a day. Okay, now I'd been doing yoga before that, which is usually took about 45, maybe longer than that, you see, and I could keep that up, but eventually these other practices that required 45 minutes, an hour's worth of time, eventually something came up in my life that disrupted that routine and they faded away. But when Chen Man-Ch'ing said, in order to become a Tai Chi practitioner, all you need is 10 minutes, I thought to myself, well, which day am I so busy that I can't even find 10 minutes. And I could not think of a day that I've ever had where I couldn't just find 10 minutes. And that's really what made me feel like, oh, Tai Chi, this could be for me, because I think I can achieve that. I think I can do 10 minutes. And that was the kind of the thing I was looking for that made it feel like it was for me. You know what I mean? You know, so that was it. And believe it or not, that is my minimum that kept me through, you know, through the ups and downs of life. That was the 10 minutes. I kept to that, actually. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. And you were talking about, you know, it's not, you know, get in there and bang your body around in the gym and then get hurt and take time off. I mean, conversely, isn't working with the energy, isn't that actually beneficial to your body? Isn't it healing in a way?
Yeah, one of the things that makes it healing in my experience is it's more like the removal of tension.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Now, Tai Chi can be exceptionally dynamic and very, very powerful and explosive even. But there is no force. There's no aggression. You know, you're training your body to move without excess tension. Okay, so that's really the core kind of difference. And of course, most people know that Tai Chi is also a martial, has a martial side of it. It's not as much known about the martial side, and not everyone studies it. But it is fundamentally both. It's martial, it's a meditation, it's got a healing side to it. Okay, and it most definitely includes your body. That's one of the things that's so magnetic about Tai Chi, is it really, really includes your body, massively includes your body. It doesn't exclude, you know, because there's heaven and earth, and a lot of people, of course, in spiritual things are going to be drawn to the heaven side of things. But that's very invisible energy virtue, or very etheric, if you see what I mean. But Tai Chi definitely says, you know, we need earth, we need the body, we need to include your body. And in fact, Tai Chi starts with the body, really. Every single session, it's like you coming back to your body and asking the question, how does your body feel right now? Okay. And what's going to happen is that you're going to realize that every time you come to your Tai Chi session, your qigong session, your body is always slightly different. You know, the feelings in your body are always slightly different, and they're changing moment by moment. And that's the key there. There's something inside of you is changing just on a dime. It's always in the moment. And it's that spontaneous side of us, of our own bodily experience, that's actually going to draw you in. And that's your access point into your qigong, your Tai Chi practice. It is your body that is going to be the key.
And you mentioned it's taking tension out of the body. With everything that's going on, you know, taking tension out of the body for many people is a great unlearning. That's going to be a huge discipline.
Absolutely. You know, you have to do a little bit of self-respect.
Yes.
And you have to sort of go, look, I'm going to have to look after me. No one else is going to be looking after me. I'm going to have to do some of this myself. And the way I sort of helping me to understand this is that if you look to nature and you look to, say, like birds or cats and dogs, there's a certain amount of preening that goes on during the day. That, you know, the ducks and the wildlife, they sort their feathers out. They just like arrange them and just sort of look at them. And then we all know that cats will like to arrange their fur, don't they? So they have a little time when they preen and they sort themselves out. And we know, but humans kind of do that in a way, but we do it with our clothes and our hair and all that kind of stuff. But this is like working more on an energy level, where you could think of Tai Chi or Qigong as an opportunity to just sort your energy, your feelings in your bodily feelings out, and to sort of let go of some tensions that you didn't even realize you had. And that's the thing. You didn't even realize you had them. and then it all happens in what they call the dantian, which is sort of the belly area. That's the sort of central place to pay attention to. If you're interested in qigong and tai chi, it becomes very, very apparent quite quickly that everything they talk about is about the dantian, which is just below your belly button there.
Yes.
I can see it. I can see it in your facial expression and your expression of the arms and the body, that you're full of energy. You must feel wonderful. Probably you feel like 1,000,000 pounds every day, don't you?
Well, you getting me, maybe this is a good day, but I most definitely have those days where I don't want to get up, and it's all it's very, very tough weather sometimes out there, and it's internal weather.
I can feel your energy. Yeah,
well,
I can feel you.
That's where the element that I talked about earlier, this 10 minutes a day. The reason why that is important is because one of the core qualities of Tai Chi, that if you're going to have results, you've got to bring in this thing called a routine. It's so important to have some kind of self-discipline where you feel that you can do the thing that you're committed to, even on your bad day. That's the critical thing, because if you can't do it on your bad day, because it's like just too much and you just can't be bothered and you're wiped out, you will lose the rhythm. And if you lose the rhythm, if you can lose it once, you'll lose it twice, and if you'll find an excuse, and then it will be boom. And it doesn't matter how inspired you were, a month ago. You have to have the inspiration yourself. You have to be able to build, bring yourself back to the task. And you're going to be by yourself to do that. No one's going to do that for you. It's tough, and that's why the 10-minute thing is invaluable. If you wanted to really make it part of your life, you've got to set the bar quite low. You've got to set the bar, and then you can do it. It's achievable. It's achievable.
Very true.
Yeah, I know the word Tai Chi has chi in it. That's I think maybe I'll call it the universal life energy, maybe, or something like that. But it is very powerful, and it can be absorbed and accumulated and used for the health and well-being of the body. But I imagine you and maybe others have seen this. There is a video on YouTube by a Tai Chi master. He crumbled up a piece of paper, put it on the sidewalk, and he held his hand over it for about probably a minute. And that paper caught fire. It started burning just from the extension of the energy coming from his hand. Now, this energy can also be used for the betterment of our body. And that is probably what's happening, even though I know the Tai Chi masters don't like to talk maybe necessarily about the healing effect, because they talk more about the well-being, but it has phenomenal healing effect according to what I have seen before.
Yeah, I mean, that actually ties in with a little bit of research that was done by Harvard University back in the 60s, I believe, where they took, this is a proper Harvard study, you can go and look it up on the Harvard computers or whatever, and they found some monks and up in the Himalayas or something, and they had this routine where they went out at night and sat on a cold lake, and then they covered them over the period of over the whole night with these wet blankets. And of course, it's freezing cold. And if any normal mortal has to stay outside, in a kind of a loincloth, and someone puts, freezing cold wet blankets on them, we would die. We would die of hypothermia. It would not, we wouldn't last too long. But these monks were able to generate internal energy, and not only were they not cold, but the actual blankets evaporated. All of that, they came off, or steam came off, and they became dry. And then they took that one away, and they had to put another cold wet blanket on the monk in order to keep him cold. And so this process went on through the night. And obviously this is some kind of special advanced Chi technique, but it just goes to show that, you know, the human body is capable of all sorts of amazing things, and we just touch the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? You know, of what's possible. However, I will just add that the part of the qigong and tai chi world is not really too sensational in a way. And these stories are really interesting, and they can attract us in. However, it's kind of if it happens to you, then it's absolutely amazing. You may want to develop that side of things. But I wouldn't particularly want to learn Tai Chi so I can do that, if you sort of mean. It's right. That's not the goal, if you know what I mean. And because, in my opinion, the goal is emptiness. Mm. And that emptiness is achievable very, very quickly even for beginners, you know, straight away. The emptiness that you can feel, and you start to generate this sense of well-being where you don't want anything to be different to how it is right now. You can find complete contentment in the moment. And this is like liberating. Internally, it's so liberating to be totally satisfied and to be happy and content. And you let the world alone. It's like, I don't need to change the world just for the moment. I'm going to let the world go. And I'm just going to be here, and I'm going to be like, wow, it's actually okay just being present, just being me, just being in my body is actually nice. And that sounds like heaven. It is. It's like, and you touch this kind of emptiness, and it's pleasant. It's not the void as in terrifying. It's empty as in like a full emptiness. And your mind, mind can chat away. It can be quite quiet, or it can be. It doesn't really matter. But you're sort of just things calm down, and you start to feel just you feel like your sort of self again, if you sort of mean. And that's kind of where I come. That's where my sort of angle on Tai Chi Qigong is sort of focused in that emptiness, if you sort of mean.
Mm-hmm. Michael, will you tell us the difference between Qigong and Tai Chi?
Okay, so you mentioned on your introductory notes that I was a Tai Chi expert. Now, I would possibly like to rein that in a little bit because although I know what I know, if you know what I mean, but there really are amazing Qigong Tai Chi people all over the world, and they've been part of like amazing traditions and stuff, and they know a lot more about the internal workings of the meridians, and they know stuff about the five elements, and they know stuff about the healing herbs, and they know martial arts. I know a little tiny bit. Okay, so I've got to make sure that I stay within what I feel like I know. But so what was your question again? I forgot.
The difference between Qigong and...
Okay, so the way I think of this is that Tai Chi is made up of lots of little Qigong movements. Okay, so really, Qigong is a standalone movement that is repeated over and over again. It's pretty simple, and its main focus is on health, well-being, longevity, peace of mind. That's the core. Working on your core energy. Where what with Tai Chi, you're stringing these Qigongs together, and what they've done is also introduce some martial arts elements into those Qigong movements and put them into what's called a form, and it goes through in a sequence, and it usually takes about 10 minutes. And this is the thing that takes about 40 weeks to learn, is the Tai Chi short form. It's actually called, and that's basically a string of Qigong movements all put together. Yes, and that's kind of roughly the difference. The other thing is that Tai Chi is also kind of almost like an adjective. It's like a state of Tai Chi. Okay, so it's you can say something. I'm moving in a particular Tai Chi way or something. It's kind of like it's got a couple of different meanings, but that's my way of saying it. But if you got a qigong expert from China, Chen style or something, and they say, well, what's the difference? They might give you a very different answer. But I think that's broadly speaking,
So
how I think of it.
what comes to mind, and I can't remember if it's qigong or tai chi. I think it's qigong, like lion rolling the ball. Is that Tai Chi or Qigong?
There's both there.
Both?
Basically, it's quite often you'll have like maybe a ball and you'll move it from sort of one side to the other. Interestingly, what's creating the energy there is not necessarily your hands, and what's even creating the movement is not your arms. You can move your arms up and down like this, but really what's happening is that you're focusing on your belly and your hips, and that's where the origin of the movement is coming from, is from your hips, and the transfer of energy from one foot, and you move your weight over from one foot to the other at the same time as opening and closing the hips. And that rotates your spine, that rotates your shoulders move your arms. And so for very little, in terms of, you can move your arm from here to here just physically, and you can do it in a Tai Chi way. Okay, there's that, using that word, where I'm sitting down there, so I can't really do it. But you basically, if you're standing up, you could open and your hand would almost float up. Okay, and it's once you get into that kind of floaty kind of world, but being very grounded, you really feel totally earth, and in fact, your power comes from the earth. And then the energy kind of comes through you and is expressed in your upper body. Okay. And so that's where you get these kind of like balls of energy and all that kind of stuff. But really the practitioner's concentration, if you like, is back in the belly, not in the hands, you see.
Right.
It's very quite internal, if you sort of mean. You're really trying to hold your attention in the belly. It's not as easy as you think, but over time you learn to sync your mind and place it on your belly. That's what the Tai Chi classics say to place.
Lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah, I was telling somebody that I was going to do the show today, and she asked me, what is the difference between Qigong and Falun Dafa?
There's something called Falun Gong I've heard
Falun Gong, yeah, there you go.
That's right. I think they're very similar, to be honest. Very, very similar. What I've seen, because sometimes I've been to the park and I've seen Falun Gong practitioners, and they to my experience at least, that they're kind of like an even slower version of Tai Chi. It's like they spend a little bit more time sitting and really just being in a certain movement, like just holding a position and being still. And then occasionally they'll develop movements within that, but not. It's a lot more meditative. Okay, so if that's more what you're interested in, then I would say Falun Gong, if you like setting meditations, a nice bridge there, because it's got a lot of peaceful non-movement in there. That's
Yeah.
But to me, I have to say that one of the things that drew me to Tai Chi was its meditation. However, I've got a super busy mind, and I just don't like the idea of sitting still. I love the idea of meditating, but I could never approach it and actually do it, because I would always be too busy. I'd be like, do I want to sit down, or do I want to carry on doing stuff? And I'd be like, I'll carry on doing stuff, so I'd never do it. And then I heard about Tai Chi, and I was like, meditation, yeah, I want that. And your body is involved. And I was like, okay, this could be for me. So that I gave it a go, and it's like, yes, okay. And you are meditating when you do your Tai Chi practice. You are meditating, but you're including your body. It is fun the way, especially Qigong and Tai Chi, but especially Qigong. It is a meditation, and it is very, very powerful in the sense that it gets you quite quickly to a meditative state of being and mind quite quickly by including the body. It's amazing how quickly the mind becomes harmonious with your feelings and your body and your spirit all starts to be harmonious, because initially the mind and the body and the emotions, they're all kind of doing their different thing, and it's all higgledy-piggledy. But slowly, with the way that Tai Chi is taught and the way you do it, slowly things start to line up, and that's when it feels good. And you're not losing your mind. You're not in a battle with your mind. You're just rebalancing it all. That's really that's the way I learned it for myself, and that's the way I teach it, is to basically, bring it all back into a balance. And that way you don't have to fight anything. You just it's quite easy. It's quite easy, and it really makes sense.
I got a question for you about a bit everybody would like to know, and that is, you say that you like to do your classes on the full moon. Why the full moon? That make it special compared to other times?
Okay, so I think I'm not entirely sure how it ended up this way, but I just thought I'd give it a go and see if it worked. But basically, I heard of something called the Full Moon Club or something. This is back in the 19th century. Basically, in a town where I live, Birmingham, basically a bunch of industrialists, and they were like entrepreneurs and forward thinkers. They were scientists and biologists and chemists, and they all got together. And they started meeting on the full moon. I don't know why they chose that, but I guess it's the light of the full moon. And that was their time that they used to meet. And they used to get together and discuss science and all the latest things that because obviously the 19th century was on the cusp of lots of breakthroughs in materialism. And these guys, they ended up being some of the most influential people of all time as a collective. You can research a little bit, but Matthew Bolton is one of the guys. But basically, they did all of this amazing work in chemistry that sort of led into, I don't know, all of the plastics and God knows what. But basically, all the things that we take for granted in the modern world could almost all be traced back to this bunch of guys who sort of like all got together and shared information and we're advancing in all of these scientific subjects. Now, when I heard that, I immediately went, it wasn't them that did it. It was the power of the moon. It was the moon energy that was adding in and helping them to get really creative and think of new ideas and new ways of understanding stuff. And it was, if they had chosen like Sunday to do it instead, we wouldn't. I don't think any of those breakthroughs would necessarily have happened on the scale as it happened. So basically, they aligned themselves with a cosmic alignment, and they just use that, every full moon they got together. Obviously, if you're into, different, obviously there's a kind of lots of people use the moon in many different ways to meet and to take advantage of that, obviously, but that was just one example that sort of it spoke to me, and I suddenly understood it. I was like, okay, so tuning in with the moon can add a lot of energy and power into what you're doing, and it's not just the full moon. I also do it with the new moon as well. So it's basically the day before, the day of the new moon or full moon, and the day after. So you kind of do your qigong in those energies, if you like. And it's really very, very interesting, to add the moon into the qigong practice. I mean, I don't know about you, but when there's a full moon, quite often, and new moons as well, but quite often stuff really comes up. It really throws a lot of, not just for yourself, but other people. It triggers us all, and with things that just seem out of place, or you just very intense, maybe, can really come up. And forewarned is forearmed, isn't it? So if you know that this, and you see, the thing is, how often do we really know what the moon is doing? Okay, most people live in cities, tower blocks, housing. You can't see the sky very much. You've got a small window above your head. The moon very rarely shows itself. Even at night, you might not see it. You have to make a real pilgrimage to see the moon, actually. where our ancestors would have known what the moon was doing all the time. Okay, so we have to make some real effort. But when you do your qigong or your tai chi in with the moon, of course you know what's going on with the moon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know that there's a new moon with an eclipse on Thursday, for instance.
Yes.
Because I'm teaching a class, and so it's a really big energy moment. And of course, the eclipse window, the portal is opening on Thursday, and goes 2 weeks, and then there'll be a new lunar eclipse, and then the eclipse season will close, and you have to wait 6 months, and it opens again. So you suddenly become aware of all of these like portals, if you like, of energy that are opening and closing continuously in your life. And I think this is the way that calendars, the old calendars, were all made like this. They just literally were what's happening in the heavens. That's what the calendar was. You know, they would use the moon literally as their month. You know, and the seasons would be the equinoxes and the solstices and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, it's just you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already been done for us. You know?
Yeah.
You know,
we need to bring it back.
Well, it's just exactly. I think it would. You know, it is possible to live completely, and even with the X number of billion people on the planet, it is possible to completely live in harmony. It's a choice. It's not like just because there's a lot of people doesn't mean to say it has to be difficult. It could be amazing if you harness, you know, things.
It could be amazing. The last full moon was, I mean, very exciting. I couldn't sleep. I mean, it was very, very powerful. So I would imagine doing qigong or tai chi with that kind of energy must be exhilarating. It must be, I don't know, delicious, if you will.
It really can be. And one of the nice things about the qigong is you know, when you're doing it right, as it were, but you know, because there are principles, and you know, I'm reminding the class continually what the principles are. Like I'm just bringing it back to, you know, the dantian, belly, breathing into the belly, all this kind of stuff. You know, that enables you to remain really grounded on earth. So you feel really grounded. So you could really feel very high and very wow, but you feel really rooted at the same time. It's not just a spacey kind of thing. You feel power in your body, and it's not like an aggressive power. You just feel in power, you know. It's
vital, right? Vital.
Vitality. What I like to call it, I call it rude health, which is like a robustness. It means that, you know, it's a little bit like having a keel on a ship. You know, if the wind comes along, you're not going to be blown over so easy. And that's what your qigong is doing, is it's rooting you and giving you a grounding and helping you to relax, because the root gets deeper when you relax. So when you let go, you just kind of really learn to let go. And that's like your roots are going down as you're learning to release and let go. And that gives you your ability to have this water off a duck's back kind of thing. Eventually you build up your energy to a point where things come along that would normally have knocked you over, you know, and drained all your energy.
Kind of unshakable, yes?
You can become that way. I mean, I would never say that about myself, because I've been completely floored loads of times, and quite recently. So I'm just saying it. But you because you go back to your Tai Chi routine, right? It doesn't take long before you kind of reestablish your balance again. And that's the miracle of Tai Chi. If you get it and you're inspired, then you're going to be like, because once I met this other chap, this is the other thing that got me into Tai Chi Qigong, was I met another guy, and he had been practicing. He was into kungfu, but he called it Tai Chi. To him, it was the same thing. We had a lot of crossover. And he had been practicing for something like 10 years. And he said he never missed a day. And I was like, what? Never missed a day? And he goes, no, I train like a monk. I never miss a day. And he took me outside, and he showed me in his garden where his where he'd been stepping over and over again in the same place, and there was like these big patches of dirt where he hadn't changed. He didn't change. He just did the same thing. And what's more, he had a full-time job where he had to sort of get to work at sort of 7 o'clock, work all the way through the day. And what he did is he used to get up at 5 o'clock, do 2 hours of his kungfu practice.
You said something about this a little while ago, Michael, and that is that it could have a martial art aspect to Tai Chi. And I know you're right on that, because 20 some years ago, I interviewed a martial art master here in Tucson on my TV show. And I was standing about 3-4 foot away from him when he did a demonstration. And he did his thing for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then he did like this, and he shoved me backward. I was pushed backward about 6 feet. I could not stop it. I just kept going backwards, and I could feel that energy. And then he said, "This energy is real. It's life energy. And we can, instead of sending it out, we can keep it in the body, and it will have a phenomenal healing effect on the body," he said. And I think there must be something to that. What do you think?
Well, actually, that reminds me a little bit of, initially when you said that, I was like, I heard that actually one of the first things that Bruce Lee learnt was Tai Chi when he was little. He was taught Tai Chi to begin with, and then he just ran with it, and he learned wingchun and all these other kung fu and all this other stuff, and then eventually his own style. But he started off with Tai Chi, and I've often thought that the secret power to a lot of great fighters is something called zazen, or standing meditation, where you literally you stand and you kind of hold a ball, you stand like a tree, okay, and you sink and you root and you just stay there, and you can sort of just be, right? And you're learning how to relax, and you're holding this ball of energy up to, you can start off with a few minutes, but quite quickly you'll want to develop it up to maybe 10, 20 minutes, whatever. And you hear of Qigong masters really taking it much further than that. But the only way you can hold your hands in this position after a certain amount of time is by completely releasing all of the physical tension. It's not muscle power that gets you through that. You have to start to open and become a channel for the life force, and that's what allows your hands to sort of stay in this position. So it's like you're plugging into the chi battery. Okay, so it's like you're going directly in and you're charging, and this ability to be present, like spiritually present in your body, it just gives you so much physical power. Okay, and then if you take that into boxing or something like that, you're going to find you've got all this immense power, because you're so connected and you're total in what you're doing, but you're also your energies are very deep down, and you're going to pick up that same power that comes from sumo wrestlers. They're so close to the ground, they want to get close to the ground because that's where their power is coming from. If you can uproot somebody off the ground, you win. Okay, that's the thing. So you want to keep your energies really low. I heard a brilliant tale of a boxer who trained in a shed, and the boxing instructor reduced the height of the shed down to about his eye level, so he couldn't stand up. So he had to sink really quite low. So he had to have a deep stance, and he built up all of his muscles to enable him to be able to sort of like be that low in his stance. And he got used to it. He got used to being deep, if you like. And that gave him a phenomenal advantage, because that was just like getting his belly energy was getting closer to the earth, and you get a lot of power when your dantian sinks.
Yes,
That gets the power. And it's not, you don't have, you can be male, female, you can be young, you can be old. Yeah, it is a universal thing. There's no barrier to anyone whatsoever approaching this. You can be very poorly. In fact, Chen Man-Ch'ing, the guy who kind of inspired the West, if you like, quote unquote, the West, he brought it. He's one of the people that really brought it out to the West, Yang style. Now, he was very poorly when he was young, and somebody says, oh, you want to learn Tai Chi, and he learned Tai Chi. I think he had tuberculosis or something like that, but not only did he recover, he was so impressed with like what Tai Chi had, the healing arts of Tai Chi, that he then went on to like really throw everything into learning Tai Chi. He put the rest of his life in, and he became a master, a grandmaster, of Tai Chi. And then he took it out of China and taught to the West, because obviously in China there was the cultural revolution that they decided that they didn't want their past. It was a bit of a regrettable move. I think they regret it now, but basically that's what they did. And so a lot of people had to, who were still in touch with the traditional old ways, they had to, either get locked in jail, killed, or they had to leave. And that's why the West has got a lot of this. A lot of this spiritual teaching is in the West is because of what happened in China, actually, all those years ago. Yeah.
Could you mention some of the advantages that people will have by practicing Tai Chi and or Falun Dafa or Qigong, or what will it do for them?
One thing that it will really do is, if you struggle with anything like mental, right, it's going to really help to settle your mind, okay? Because it's going to get you back in touch with your body, okay? And it won't fight your mind. It's going to harmonize with your mind. And I call this the kind of what happens in this life is that the world out there is a bit crazy, and it will get you to live in your head, and it's going to encourage everyone to have a head. So I call it the kind of that's hard to say. It's like a triangle where the head is given and the brain is given all of the attention, as if it's the only show in town. So it's like the triangle is kind of like all focused on the mind, okay? And you'll hear a lot of things talking about the brain, endlessly talking about the brain. Okay, now Qigong is going to take that triangle and going to flip it upside down, and it's going to give the base here all the focus is going to be here on the foundation in your belly, and the top of the triangle, if you like, is going to be the mind. It includes the mind, but it puts the balance back so that you get the foundation of your beingness is first and foremost, because you can't have a mind if you need to be in order to have a thought, okay? And the center of your beingness, at least in Tai Chi, Qigong terms, if you go and study the Tai Chi classics, the center of your being, there's the dantian, that's the belly area. This is the foundation. On top of this foundation, that's when we have emotions, that's when we have thoughts. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that triangle, if you like, that mind-centered triangle, we're going to flip it upside down and just going to make it a little bit more balanced, okay? So if you're struggling with mind stuff, okay, it's going to help the mind to sink. And as the mind sinks, the anxieties are going to sink as well. And it's going to melt away a lot of unnecessary tensions, because a lot of them are resolvable. They are completely resolvable. And once you get back into this state of balance and you feel yourself again, you'll be like, oh, thank goodness for that. Thank God. Thank God. It's right. Like, I'm so pleased to sort of feel myself again, and you can let this is what I started talking about. It's like you can let the world go. You can let the world be. You don't need to change the world. You can find contentment in the moment. And this is the golden, this is just it. They're finding contentment in the moment. You don't need that money. You don't need that relationship. You don't need that, whatever it is that somebody giving you approval. All of these kinds of things that go on, they mean a lot to us in our minds. And if we really focus on them, there's a lot of attention there. But what happens is it brings up a lot of emotional energy. And that emotional energy makes our physical body not feel not so great. Okay, so you end up fixating on stuff that's making your body full of tensions, and it just feels not very great, But when you do your qigong and you apply the principles and you relax your belly and you start to move a little bit softer and you apply some gentleness and you realize it's not so tough and you can do it, and then before you know it, after about 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, you suddenly find that your body starts to feel a bit nicer internally. You literally, the way your body feels, it's like, oh, all of that really knotted energy, it seems to have melted away a little bit, And I didn't have to go to booze, and I didn't have to have a fag, and I didn't have to bore the pants off my best friend again. It's like, you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for yourself. And you're self-healing, isn't it? And you're once things have calmed down a fair amount, then you'll find that your body feels nice. Once your body actually feels nice, okay, it's very difficult to have a troublesome thought, okay, when your body feels nice. If you feel really contented and you're feeling all the knots and all the anxiety is melted away from your body, and then you try and think of the thing that was causing you a lot of stress before, you think, I just don't care about it. Literally, you'd be like, I just don't care. I don't care about that thing anymore. It's gone. And it's all using the body as a tool to sort of reverse engineer a better internal world for yourself, because you have to live with your internal world every day. Every day you have to live with your internal world, and it follows us around like a ghost.
Yes, but You're speaking about living, and I'm thinking, listening to you, I'm thinking it not only helps you live, but it must help people to have a very peaceful death.
I'm sure.
Having that training over the years, and I mean, it must be very beneficial. I'm an old hospice nurse, so I go there. So, yeah.
Right. Well, I have to say, just recently, my parents both became very poorly, and I ended up for a long time in A&E, going to the hospital and being around that kind of environment. And there's a lot of tension, a lot of fear in those environments, and there's people really in a lot of trouble. And I have to say, I was very glad of my Tai Chi and my qigong training, because I was able to just keep trying to be relaxed, because then at least I'm not really adding to the stress.
Yeah,
that's as much as I could do. It's a good thing to release that, because it is. I'm sure it's very important. I would say if you can be at peace in that kind of environment. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet that's where a lot of the healing effects come in, probably, because when you get rid of the stress in your mind, think about it, half the illness in the world is somehow caused by stress. So once you get rid of that, the mind goes quiet, the mind is more healthy, and things come together. And gosh, now I see that we only got about 3 minutes left of the show. So what is next for you now? Are you... what kind of journey are you continuing on?
Well, I'm on the threshold of launching a Tai Chi Chuan class, online class. That's my next sort of project. I've had a few people talking about how they'd like me to teach online. I have done some Tai Chi classes in the past, and every now and again I just sort of wait until there's some interest, and then once the interest builds up, I'll do a class. It takes about 20 weeks it's quite a long course, 20 weeks. So it requires a bit of dedication. And that's why, I only really, Tai Chi is good for people. You've got to try it out. But if you feel like it's for you, then, you've got to be, some part of you is got to be attracted to the routine, just doing something every day, so, you don't know till you try, but usually the results speak for themselves, because once you start getting the results, you suddenly be like, oh, well, of course I was going to do my Tai Chi, So that's going on at the moment. And of course, there's my Chi Gong Moon Club starts. In fact, it starts on Wednesday. So in the UK, it is Wednesday already, or in the USA, it's tomorrow. So that's an online thing. And if you're interested, incidentally, in trying some Qigong out, you're quite welcome to come along and join the Chi Gong Moon Club for the forthcoming new moon eclipse. It's in Aries. I bring in astrology as well. I'm an amateur astrologer, so I like astrology, and I'm not. I don't know a lot, but I really love it. So I include a little bit of astrology in the class if it makes sense. So that's starting in a few hours' time. Actually, if you're and the classes are recorded, so if you couldn't catch it live, it's 8 o'clock at UK time in the morning, and then another one. There's two classes a day. 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. for half an hour, so it's not a tremendous length of time. So that's the next Qigong Moon Club that's happening very shortly. I'm going to go to bed. Going to go to bed for a few hours and then get back up again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And tell people how they can find you, please.
You go to michaeltingle.com. There's probably a link somewhere around here. michaeltingle.com. You can sign up to my newsletter, and then if there's anything and new classes are starting, then I will send out a newsletter. If you have any questions, I'm quite happy to reply to emails and stuff like that. You can find me on Instagram. On Instagram, I'm Tai Chi with Michael. I think that's my Instagram. Tai.chi.with.michael. Tai Chi with Michael. I think that's it. Tai Chi with Michael. And I'm also on Facebook. You can probably find me through my website anyway. So it's all out there. And stuff to have a look at on my website.
Oh, this
Michael,
has been so fun. Yeah,
thank you so much.
Nori, look at Michael's energy. He has been so delightful. I see the smile on his face all the way through the show. I don't think he had one moment when there wasn't a smile there. This is still really delightful.
Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have to come back and visit with us again in the not too distant future.
Well, just to say that, thank you very much for inviting me. It's it's been a pleasure. It's been really is a pleasure. So thank you so much, and I've really enjoyed it. I love chatting and stuff. When I'm doing the qigong, I'm sort of spontaneously talk a little bit, and I do silence as well.
Okay.
I can do silence, but I talk a little bit, and we do it all together. So that's on Zoom if you're interested. So go and check that out, perhaps. Okay.
I'm going to find you. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back next week with another incredible guest. Augie, thank you so much. Mac, thank you. Michael, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us.